On an ordinary day in a bustling neighborhood, amidst the noise and activity of the streets, a dog lay on the sidewalk. Her weary body told a story of hardship, thin, exhausted, and clearly in need of help. Passersby may have overlooked her, but for one compassionate rescuer, leaving her behind was not an option. Without hesitation, they approached the trembling dog, carefully lifting her into their arms and carrying her to safety. What would happen next to the poor dog? Be sure to keep watching. The rescuer rushed the dog to the nearest veterinary clinic, where the team began their assessment. Despite her fragile state, there was a spark in her eyes, a glimmer of resilience that couldn't be ignored. The rescuer decided to name her Sul, a word that means sun in Spanish. The name was fitting. Sul represented hope, light, and the promise of a brighter future after the darkness she had endured. At the clinic, the veterinarians conducted a thorough examination. Sul was malnourished, her fur patchy and dull, a result of prolonged neglect. She was weak from exhaustion and had clearly spent too long struggling to survive. Initial tests brought a piece of good news. Sul tested negative for distemper, a dangerous and often fatal disease that affects dogs. Distemper can cause respiratory and neurological issues, so this result was a significant relief. However, the road to recovery was far from over. Sul's treatment would involve medication, proper nutrition, and consistent care, all of which came at a cost. The rescuer, already stretched thin from helping other animals, turned to their community for support. They shared Sul's story online, highlighting her need for medical care, food, and shelter. The response was heartwarming. People from all walks of life came forward to help, donating funds to cover Sul's treatment and basic needs. Thanks to their generosity, the rescuer was able to afford the medications, high-quality food, and veterinary care necessary for Sul's recovery. It was a collaborative effort, one that underscored the importance of community and animal rescue efforts. With the funds secured, Sul's treatment began in earnest. The veterinarians ensured she was comfortable, administering medications and providing a nutrient-rich diet to help her regain strength. The rescuer visited her frequently, offering comfort and encouragement with every visit. Sul's recovery was nothing short of remarkable. Within weeks, her once patchy coat began to grow back, soft and shiny, a testament to her improving health. Her energy levels increased, and her personality began to shine through. Sul was no longer the exhausted dog found on the sidewalk. She was playful, affectionate, and eager to engage with those around her. Her transformation was a source of joy, not just for the rescuer, but for everyone who had contributed to her care. Regular updates on Sul's progress filled the hearts of her supporters, showing them the tangible impact of their kindness and generosity. Weeks turned into a month, and Sul was finally ready for the next chapter of her life. She had fully recovered, her body strong and her spirit unbroken. With her newfound energy and charm, she was ready to find a loving family who would provide her with the care and stability she deserved. The rescuer began the search for Sul's forever home, ensuring her adopters would understand her past and commit to giving her a bright future. Sul's story was shared widely, and soon, families expressed interest in welcoming this beautiful dog into their lives. Sul's journey from the sidewalk to recovery is a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when compassion and determination come together. Her story also highlights the incredible impact of community support and animal rescue efforts. Without the donations and encouragement from kind-hearted individuals, Sul's recovery might not have been possible. Sul's name, meaning sun, is a perfect representation of her journey. Like the sun rising after a long night, Sul overcame her hardships and emerged stronger and brighter. She now has the chance to bring warmth and happiness to a new family, just as her rescuers and supporters brought light into her life. As Soul prepares to leave her past behind and embrace a new future, her story serves as an inspiration to us all. There are countless animals like Soul, waiting for someone to notice them, to offer them a helping hand, and to show them that their lives matter. Soul's story is not just a testament to her resilience, but also a powerful example of the impact of community support in transforming lives. When Soul was found on the sidewalk, her future looked uncertain, malnourished, exhausted, and with her fur patchy and dull, she was a reflection of neglect and hardship. Her rescuers' immediate action saved her life, but without the backing of a compassionate community, Soul's journey to recovery would have faced significant obstacles. Community support plays a pivotal role in animal rescue efforts. Soul's rescuer, like many others dedicated to saving animals, faced the daunting challenge of balancing emotional, physical, and financial demands. The cost of medications, specialized food, and veterinary care for Soul quickly added up, creating a barrier that would have been difficult to overcome alone. Recognizing this, the rescuer reached out for help, sharing Soul's story with the world. The response was overwhelming. People from different backgrounds, united by their love for animals, came forward to contribute whatever they could. Some donated money, others offered supplies, and many shared Soul's story to amplify her plight. This collective effort underscored the transformative power of community support. The contributions Soul received went directly toward her care, providing her with life-saving treatments and essential resources. Medications to heal her body, high-quality food to rebuild her strength, and veterinary expertise to monitor her progress were all made possible by the generosity of others. Every donation, no matter how small, contributed to her recovery, proving that when people come together, even the most daunting challenges can be overcome. Beyond the financial aspect, community support offered something equally important: encouragement and hope. Knowing that so many people cared about Soul's well-being motivated the rescuer to continue their tireless efforts. Each message of support, each like and share of her story served as a reminder that Soul's life mattered to more than just one person. It mattered to an entire network of compassionate individuals. Rescuers often operate within tight constraints, relying on personal resources and the goodwill of others to save animals in need. The presence of a supportive community allows them to expand their reach and help more animals like Soul. Community support fosters a network of care where resources, knowledge, and assistance can be shared. It's this network that creates lasting change, not only for individual animals, but also for broader animal welfare initiatives. Soul's recovery is a shining example of how a united community can achieve incredible outcomes. With the help of donors, the rescuer was able to afford the medications that treated Soul's ailments and the food that restored her health. This support also enabled the rescuer to focus on providing Soul with emotional care, ensuring she felt safe and loved during her recovery. When people see the tangible impact of their contributions, it inspires further acts of kindness. Soul's transformation from a frail and neglected dog to a healthy, vibrant companion served as a beacon of hope for her supporters. They could see the direct results of their generosity. A once suffering animal, now thriving and ready for adoption. Soul's story also encouraged others to get involved in animal rescue efforts. Some became first-time donors, while others volunteered at shelters or adopted rescue animals themselves. This ripple effect of kindness demonstrates how community support extends beyond individual cases, creating a culture of care and compassion. Soul's journey highlights an essential truth. Rescuing animals is not a solo endeavor. It takes a community, a collective effort, fueled by empathy and determination, to bring about meaningful change. Every donation, every message of encouragement, and every act of sharing these stories makes a difference. For animals like Soul, community support can mean the difference between life and death, despair and hope. By coming together, we can ensure that no animal is left behind, no matter how challenging their circumstances may seem. Let Soul's story inspire us to continue supporting rescue efforts in any way we can, whether through donations, fostering, volunteering, or simply spreading awareness. Each of us has the power to contribute to these life-changing journeys. Together, we can create a world where every animal has a chance to heal, thrive, and find the love they deserve. If you've been touched by Soul's journey, consider how you can make a difference. Whether it's adopting, fostering, donating, or volunteering, every action counts. Together, we can create more happy endings and ensure that no animal is left behind. Thank you for being part of Soul's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join us in spreading stories of hope and resilience. Let's continue to shine a light on the animals who need it most, just like we did for Soul.